Start your computations.
For today's video, we're gonna explore the internet, researching, evaluating the web. So, what are you waiting for? Just follow me and let's explore! Exploring the internet, researching, evaluating the web. The internet is a digital world at our fingertips, just beaming with information waiting to be discovered. But what are the most effective way of exploring that world? You should know that the internet is a global communication network that allows computer to exchange and share information worldwide. The internet makes it possible for people around the world to connect and share ideas across time zone and geographical location. However, because cyberspace is such a large realm, it is easy to get lost. It can sometimes be difficult to find an information you need. So the most effective way to explore the internet is to have strategies in place for researching on the web and for evaluating the websites you find there. Follow the three key factors to surfing the web. First is search. Most surfing sessions start with a user typing targeted keywords about a subject into a search engine. Often, it's helpful to employ a Boolean. Boolean search or Boolean logic is a subset of algebra used for creating true or false statements. Boolean expression use the operators and, or, and or not to compare a values and return a true or false result. Second is strategy. Good strategies for searching the web include writing research questions, removing keywords from the question and typing them into a search engine, using synonyms if the keywords don't bring up the result you want, keeping a track of which keywords and synonyms you use and recording the result of your searches. Third is safety. You should always be cautious about what information you share online and which website you visit. Out of these three factors, the way you approach web searches is the most important element in using your time efficiently. To find the information you are looking for online, you should create a search strategy, which will enable you to narrow your search and avoid unrelated topics. For instance, if you were searching for information on cell phone safety, you would want to use keywords and phrases that would lead you to relevant articles. Keywords such as texting and driving are more specific than general terms such as safety and concern. More specific keywords will typically generate more specific results. Assessing credibility. The different websites accessible on the web can make our job as a researcher tricky. How do we know which information we can trust? If information is available on the web, does that automatically make it accurate? The answer is that, just as with printed information, not all information available online is factual. The old adage, don't believe everything you read, applies to the web too. In fact, you should carefully evaluate the information you uncover online. Consider the credibility or trustworthiness and reliability of the content before taking it as the truth. There are some different types of websites, like informational and corporate or e-commerce. Informational websites usually strive to offer credible content to users. Corporate and e-commerce websites sometimes present inaccurate information to see something. Remember that if an online offer seems too good to be true, it probably is. How do you know if a website is credible? The first step in evaluating its credibility is to review several important aspects of the site. Let's move on to checklist of credibility criteria. First is author. Who is the author or publisher of the website? You'll want to look at the credential of the blogger, company, or expert and determine if he or she has the qualification to provide information on the subject you are researching. Blogger names are often listed at the top or bottom of a blog post or in sidebar. Some websites do not list specific authors, but you can learn more about the credibility of a company or a purported expert by reviewing the site about page if one is available. Look for possible conflict of interest between the author and the information provided on the site. For instance, say that the website contains information that suggests that smoking is not dangerous to your health. You look at the About page and discover that the website is sponsored by a tobacco company. It is likely then that the information on the website is not credible. The tobacco company wants to sell cigarettes, so it cannot be relied upon to provide accurate information about the safety of its product. The second one is date. When was the website published or updated? Look for copyright information at the bottom of a website homepage. If the site is more than a few years old and it has not been updated regularly, you may not be getting the most up-to-date information. Next is purpose. What is the purpose of the site? It is to sell, inform, or discuss. You should analyze the goals of the website to determine if you are reading an informational site or what amounts to an advertisement. Next is contact. Is contact information available? Most credible websites will list contact information such as a telephone number, an email address, or mailing address so that user may get in touch if they have questions. Next is fact versus opinion. Is the author writing from experience, using expert and research to discuss ideas, or simply giving an opinion? If you're doing research for a school paper, you'll want to stick with sites that present factual information offered by experts rather than opinions. Be on the lookout for biases too. A bias is a prejudice for or against something. If the author is biased, the information on the site might be one-sided. So the last but not the least is the Uniform Resource Locator or the URL. What does the URL look like? Does it have a URL ending in .edu for education, .gov for government, .org or for organization, .com for commercial site, or .net for network site? Different website has different URLs. To help determine the site credibility, you'll want to determine if you are visiting a personal website or blog, a government website, or another type of website. Common credible URLs. As you consider the dizzying number of websites on the web, you might wonder if there is a way to determine whether a website is credible by looking at its URL. It is true that a website URL gives clues by looking at its URL. It is true that a website's URL gives clues to its credibility, but even if the composition of the URL makes you think that the site must be credible, you should still evaluate it carefully. When you encounter URL, look at the letters that appear after a dot. For instance, the website of the White House is www.whitehouse.gov. The letters that appear after the dot are gov. That section of the URL is called the top-level domain. Looking at the URL's top-level domain will help you determine a site's credibility. Websites ending in .gov are government-related websites. Generally, they can be trusted to provide credible statistical information, articles on many different topics, and government news. Examples of this type of site include www.usa.gov, www.census.gov, and www.apa.gov. Websites ending in .edu are the websites of educational institutions, such as colleges and universities. These sites usually offer a variety of credible data, especially about the school operation and the research finding of its faculty and staff. Keep in mind that students sometimes receive free server space from the school they attend and they may create website with a .edu top-level domain. You must be vigilant about the student-created websites as they may contain inaccurate information or bias. Websites ending in .org are the website or organization, while many organizations, especially nonprofits such as the American Heart Association or the American National Red Cross, provide credible information. They may sometimes be advertising products or services too. Some organizations show considerable bias as well, so you must evaluate .org sites carefully. Websites with the top-level domains of .biz, .com, and .net deserve a higher level of scrutiny. For the most part, they are less likely to provide accurate information, especially because many of them are corporate or e-commerce websites bent on selling products to consumers. However, there are some exceptions. Most news organizations, for instance, have .com website, and they generally strive to provide the most accurate and unbiased information possible. Recognition of information sources. Who owns all that information? Just as we do with the information we find in print sources, we must give credit to the author of information that we find online. When you use online information for your purposes, such as writing a school report, you must cite the website or sources that provided the information you used to write your paper. The reason we must cite sources is that they are copyrighted, which means that the ideas and the words used to convey them belong to the author. When writing a research paper, the most common way to cite sources is to include, as the last page of the paper, a bibliography or a list of the sources used. So let's move on to citation. Each entry in a bibliography is called a citation, and you must include a citation for every source you use, whether it's a website, a newspaper, or a book. Online sources are cited differently because they are different from traditional print sources. There are different formats used to cite sources, but one of the most common is called MLA. The MLA style is used widely in school, in publishing, and the humanities. In MLA style, the bibliography is called a works cited page. Modern Language Association or MLA style is typically reserved for writers and students preparing manuscripts in various humanities disciplines such as English studies, language, and literature. The easiest way to create citation for the source you use is to go to www.citationmachine.net. This website will generate your citation for you and you can copy and paste them into your works cited page. Helpful research tips. When researching and collecting data from the web, you must ensure you do not plagiarize. Your work should always be 100% yours and your sources should always be cited. This is the end of our Exploring the Internet. I hope you guys have learned something. Thank you and God bless.